allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. First item is roll call.
Mayor Nickel,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Burton,
Here.
Councilmember Adam Dyer, Councilmember Susan Romey,
Here.
appointed Councilmember David Nutt.
Okay, we were here, so we'll skip on to additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda. If any, does anyone on the council have any changes? None. We'll move on to item number 1, which is fiscal year 26 budget priorities, fiscal year 26 to 30 capital improvement program priorities, and fiscal year 26 stormwater utility assessment rate discussion. This is it's consideration of identifying council priorities for the development of the fiscal year 26 budget, priorities for the development of the fiscal year 26 to 30 capital improvement program, and discussion regarding the fiscal year 26 stormwater utility assessment rate. City Manager Coffey.
Mayor, council members, council members select, residents here and watching at home. On January 14th of this year, the City Council adopted the annual budget preparation calendar. The one main difference from prior years is due to the interlocal agreement with Brevard County, which we adopted last year. The city must notify Brevard County no later than March 31st of each year if the city plans on considering increasing the stormwater utility assessment rate. So therefore, I have a presentation that I will run through quickly after that. As the mayor mentioned, the intent of this meeting is for staff to receive direction of your priorities for next year and the 5-year capital plan. And also if you are interested in considering an increase in the stormwater rate for fiscal year 26. The next steps will include at the March 25th meeting, a possible agenda item to formally notify Brevard County of an increase in the utility assessment rate, and the 5-year financial model capital improvement plan workshop on April 22nd of this year. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm not going to read every line on the slides. I basically mentioned what we're going to be doing. We have some summary information in these slides. The last few years, we transitioned from a next year process to trying to look at a 5-year window. Staff continues to refine their efforts to do that. Also to get in prior years, my first year here, staff did about 60% of their work before this meeting occurred. So to focus our efforts on what's important to y'all, we have this meeting first. And I mentioned previously the next steps. In general, as far as revenue in the short term, we're very likely to see less growth in property valuations due to the constitutional amendment and slowing of the housing market. Other major general revenue streams we project to be single-digit increases or flat, and there's possible state legislature action limiting other revenue streams. In the long term, general fund revenues, we foresee a continued slow decrease in the growth of property taxes due to the recently adopted constitutional amendment that indexes the homestead exemption to inflation each year. Currently, there's been multiple bills filed in Tallahassee to further restrict cities' ability to increase revenue through property taxes, with the governor recently calling for a study to eliminate property taxes altogether with the creation of a state share revenue source. This would likely eliminate local control over the property tax rate. California is one of a few states where the state legislature adopts a tax rate for the entire city, and the city gets an amount that is outside of their control. That is a long-term possibility. On the stormwater side, in my opinion, we need to continue to increase revenues. I mentioned interlocal agreement that forces you to determine if you're going to consider increasing it by the end of this month. You're not locked into an increase at that rate, but they need to know if you're going to be considering it. Currently, our expenditures in Stormwater Utility Fund greatly exceed our available annual revenues. While we are pursuing grant funding in state appropriations, it is not enough because most of those require at least a 50% local match. On the expenditure sides in the general fund, we have 2 more years of $1 an hour annual minimum wage increases. While we don't have a lot of employees at the minimum wage or near it, I do believe these annual increases put wage inflation throughout most of our pay plan. There are large cost items on the horizon, such as the replacement ladder truck, stormwater projects, that may require to be funded in the general fund. Additionally, there's the potential for additional staffing to meet increased service demands. The expansion of the operation of Algonquin will probably necessitate some part-time positions in next year's budget, and public safety needs, communications, etc. There's the potential for volatility in our legal expenses of seeing sharp increases as more legal actions are forced upon cities. And the big monkey in the room at the end of our 5-year window is the muck removal project that has currently estimated anywhere between a $5 and $20 million shortfall. The council had previously adopted 5 areas of emphasis: safe and secure community. Some of the issues there is public safety, recruitment, retention, the fire annex, phase 1 project, continued pedestrian safety, sidewalk connectivity, ADA improvements, Vision Zero, and emergency management. The second area of emphasis is enhanced quality of life. The muck removal project, as I mentioned, and the shortfall, the continued desire to expand recreational community events. Recreation Director Cusimano has done an excellent job the last few years in cost-effective expansion of events that gather the community together. The completion of the Algonquin project will necessitate implementation of a 7-day-a-week full access to the public, which will change our staffing patterns and to continue to improve communications with residents. The third area is financial sustainability. I believe we all agree to maintain increased cash and emergency reserves while maintaining the city's debt-free status, maintain or possibly incrementally decrease the tax rate, and in my opinion, the need to increase the stormwater utility fee, which has been increased 1 time since 2008, and that was last year. Continuing is on the staff level, we work to refine the fleet replacement schedule to better anticipate future costs. While the increase of technology brings efficiencies to our organization, it also brings long-term operating and replacement costs to proactively manage the systems to guard against cyber attacks. And we continue to aggressively pursue grants for planned projects. The fourth area of improve and maintain infrastructure. The top one is the Fire Station Annex project. You'll see in a few slides, we'd projected $800,000 for construction costs in 26. That's probably half of what it would actually cost at this point based on construction costs and the age of that estimate. On the stormwater side, desire to meet state mandates for pollutant loading reduction targets. We have no available land, so future projects will be very costly. We came very, very close to meeting the 2025 reduction targets. We were, I believe, 2.2% lower, 24.8 something was our reduction. We have a backlog of maintenance projects that do not reduce pollutant loading. And as I mentioned previously, we may need to consider starting to use general fund money for some of these projects. We need to continue to increase the budget for road milling and repaving as these costs continue to grow. And I recommend we continue the pause in the previous plan shift to EV police cruisers to see how federal regulations, alternate fuel sources develop. That expansion would have required an expansion of the fleet to allow on-site charging. The last one is use of technology for strategic advantage. We continue on planning of and implementation a phased virtualization that will save money and increase cybersecurity. I believe we need to finish populating the city's GIS database to aid in expansion planning. And expand the use of artificial intelligence to increase or to streamline processes and increase productivity while enhancing residents' ease of obtaining information. Continued incremental improvements to public engagement using technology, development of a communication engagement plan. This was requested by Councilmember Dyer earlier in this year. I anticipate a draft of this document to you by late spring, early summer. The way I'm working on it now is it'll document our current capacities and possible expansions depending on staffing. From our current 5-year plan, fiscal year 26 major projects, I've listed the highest priced ones. The completion of the Algonquin expansion project, walking path on the west side landscaping, currently is a to be determined number that we're working on. The contract that we have is for the east side only. We plan on, as that project nears completion, or probably around the first of the fiscal year, to quickly complement the current side with the walking trail that would provide a complete loop around the community and aid people walking from the Wimico area to Osceola. As I mentioned, the annex is not feasible at that $800,000 mark anymore, and our typical road milling police vehicle replacements. On the stormwater side, we planned, that should say fiscal year 26 budget. We plan to start using a video inspection of pipes and slip lining pipes. We do need to budget money for unexpected repairs to underground pipes. The last 2 years, we have had unexpected breaks that have resulted in digging pipes up and replacing it. The fact that such pipes and their fittings tend to go bad about the same time, I think we're going to see this continue slowly throughout the city. Pollutant, there is zero budgeted for pollutant reduction funding because the plan was to basically save up money in 26 to do a project in 27. We're working on getting a design estimate for a school road flooding reduction project, and we have a few phases of the Big Muddy seawall replacement project that we really would like to complete, but once again, that doesn't help us with our pollutant reduction targets. Specifically about the stormwater utility assessment rate, we're not capable of maintaining our system and reducing the pollutant loading as mandated by the state. The pollutant loading projects with the greatest results are the most expensive. And as I mentioned, we had pipe failures in each of the last 2 years. From my experience, videoing and slip lining pipes with minor problems is a very cost-effective method of extending the life of these pipes. The problem is that we've not done this in the past, and this cost would be on addition to projects already in the queue, and also decrease the amount of money for pollutant loading reduction projects. We have a backlog of stormwater maintenance projects that do not reduce pollutant loading projects. The chart up here illustrates the monthly stormwater assessment with the gross receipts from 24, which had been the same for many years before that. We increased it to $6 a month last year, and I put an incremental increase over the next 5 years to show how much money that would take. I am not one who just flippantly recommends increasing fees or taxes, but we have a lot of projects, and $341,000 a year will not enable us to do everything we need to do. With that, I always like to put a picture of my little dog because she is the most demanding boss I could ever have, and it's a joy to work with the 5 of you in comparison because you're not as demanding as a blue tick coonhound. And my favorite quote from a city manager I knew years ago was, "Staff deals with how things get done. Elected officials deal with what gets done." And with that, Mr. Mayor, senior staff and I are here to answer any questions you may have of us.
Okay. I got a couple of questions, and it goes to the stormwater issue and the pipe failures that we've been experiencing. And as far as pollutant loading reduction efforts goes, what is the penalty if we do not meet that? Is there an established set of penalties for that?
There is no established penalty as of yet. It's
Okay.
to be determined.
All right. So, and I know, I can't speak for everybody on the board, of course, or anybody but myself, but I know the lagoon is a big priority of ours. However, a bigger priority is maintaining what we have in the ground now. And I think the videoing the piping systems in the areas that need to be videoed. I say that because I know we've done some pipe replacements over the years. Not likely we really need to worry about videoing those pipes. To me, we need to be focusing on the corrugated metal pipe, drainage pipes, the CMPs, and secondary to that would be the reinforced concrete pipe, or RCPs. They're less likely to fail. Sure, there still can be some at the age of some of the pipes, but it's usually a joint failure or something like that. So I think we could potentially prioritize that. We're not going to be able to tackle repair and slip lining of the entire drainage system within the city anyway. So I think if we work, Todd obviously is going to have a lot of input on this. He knows where the hot spots are and where the pipe is in really, really poor condition. And I think if we isolate that to a smaller area at a time, maybe we phase the whole process, I think we can do it efficiently. And the $25,000 that was shown up there, that was just an estimate to do the video. It's definitely not for the slip lining stuff. So anyway, I think that's a priority. I think we have to maintain what we have around, maintain our infrastructure. And, you know, it pains me for us not to be able to meet the pollutant reduction requirements, but at the same time, that's what is absolutely necessary to take care of our existing infrastructure. That's what we have to do, I think. That's my primary comment I had overall.
As far as the assessment rate, you thinking about 5.0?
That's a fair increase. It would be $18 a year increase.
So what you're looking at here is really what you plan
Or is that just a listing of what if we did these increases? Actually,
That's what I think you should consider. I'm not going to tell you what you do. You represent the residents here. The downside of the incremental approach is folks will say you're raising my stormwater rate for the third or the fourth year straight. The flip side of that is if you went from $72 to $144 in 1 year, you'd have people complaining about why you're jacking it one time. It's akin to which side of the face you want to be slapped on.
yeah, absolutely. I wasn't suggesting that we consider, you know, going all in and doing the full increase. That would be out of side. No, but I think that, you know, there's no perception on my part anyway that there's any fat to be trimmed from the overall budget to where we can, you know, eliminate this program or that program and gain enough money to be able to cover these projects. And you are absolutely right, where the expense of these projects, the stormwater retrofitting with the baffle boxes, that's where we get the most bang for the buck. But unfortunately, the buck is a large number. Those are very, very expensive projects, and they require a lot of maintenance. To run out of spots to be able to even do those projects. Fairly short future, I think. Partially cover that deficit. Also said we may have to step into the general fund to
One of the things I was looking at was the pedestrian safety sidewalk connectivity, which I think is really important. And I'm wondering if, along with that, if that was to go forward, if there can also be the extension of bicycle lanes. I know doing it from Ocean Breeze, this is what a lot of the parents talk about, that it sort of just stops when you are at Marion. And if it could just continue, that's one minor thing, which would also, I wonder if it's possible to get the crosswalk right here lit up, the one that crosses South Patrick. I think you said that's a no, but I'm just mentioning it for one of the moms. I promised I would.
It's not a no, it's an FDOT issue.
Oh, really? Okay. Well,
and they won't do that for, you're talking about the one at the signal?
Yeah.
They won't do that at a signalized intersection.
Oh, okay.
It's only for mid-block crossings.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
At one time, we put in crossing this block south. outreach, you know, light changes, people will get fast, people walk lights, lights stay there a minute.
I agree. Um, okay, the other thing I saw that you, somewhere in here, we had mentioned a communications manager. And I just wanted to touch on that because I've been noticing from the resident side and now from this side, people just don't feel informed about a lot of things. And I think especially when we did the beach parking, so many people were confused that that you didn't have to pay for the pass or whatever it was. I just think there needs to be one specific person that could do social media where people make a comment and it's responded to. You know, I've seen Satellite Beaches page and they go back and forth a lot with whoever is working that page answers the questions pretty quickly. So I just think having a communications manager would really keep the residents more informed, make things a lot easier if everyone knew exactly what was going on, if there was one person dedicated to that.
So, yeah, I just wanted to say I do agree with, the mayor's comments about, the priority should be, getting a good idea of how those pipes look so we can get a better financial plan moving forward and see where the problem areas are. And also, took the words out of my mouth. We talked last year about how we can improve the communication and education with the residents, and then that way they can have more involvement and they could actually get, the actual facts going forward. That'll save, I think, the city workers a lot of extra work on the back end, and I think that's going to be one of my biggest priorities. And as far as that, whether that be with improved tech infrastructure or the physical person, as like a public information officer, that's something that possibly we need to look at. What area we would get the most bang for the buck. Or thinking about moving forward.
I was just going to say, I agree with everything you're saying. Should definitely be more trees in the slower zone. I love it. I love it.
That was my only point is, have that foresight to eventually have those sidewalks potentially widened and not impede any viewing obstructions because as we know that road's only getting busier. So it looks a lot cleaner. Yeah.
There's no concept right now. There, the state has options to them. We get state revenue sharing. One of our neighboring cities, Sebastian, down in Indian River County, made the news recently because they had an issue with submitting their audit on time, and the state basically told them, you're not getting any more revenue sharing from us until you rectify the situation. So it's one of those things. They have the ability to penalize us. Will they do that in the future? Who knows at this point? Councilmember Select Nut is foreshadowing what you'll be reading Thursday night. Part of my manager's report for the next meeting, Chief Lewis and I will be asking y'all to schedule a workshop to talk about future needs of the fire department and get some clarity on code enforcement, because there is some historic inconsistencies of what's on our books and what we enforce. And we would like to get your direction if it means amending our code, if it means starting to enforce things that historically have not been enforced. I think there are some areas of compromise of no enforcement versus what's on the books that may be reasonable. One, for example, is boats in driveways. Our code currently says no boats in driveways. There's a lot of boats in driveways. So do we send a letter to everybody who has a boat in their driveway, say move it, which will make a long meeting at the next council meeting? Or do we say you can have whatever boat you want in your driveway? Or possibly come up with some middle ground to where you can have a boat in your driveway if it doesn't exceed a certain encroachment on the right-of-way line. There's a handful, maybe a few more of those examples. Tall grass. In the past, people with tall grass have made the claim that there's wildflowers, which from my perspective were weeds, and we did not push the issue with them over their quote wildflowers. And so I think that workshop, your desired level of service will impact our recommendation of if you need additional staffing. Right now, I'm not sure what this board's consensus is on level of service. Um, one of the things we've done really well in this community is gain voluntary compliance. So the vast overwhelming majority of cities in Florida do not view code enforcement as a revenue generating operation, but to get compliance. I'm coming up on 3 years at the city, and we've had one special magistrate hearing, which is when someone doesn't agree with our enforcement, and that wasn't a code enforcement issue. That was a parking ticket issue. So, I've mentioned things that we can improve on. One of the things we're really good at is when we do identify a code violation, we get voluntary compliance. So if you were to tell us that we need to increase our code effort, I would not anticipate much additional revenue, because when something does go to a code special magistrate hearing, the cost imposed upon the resident if they lose largely covers the cost of the special magistrate's time and our expense.
That's a good part.
Al- Also, we're talking about that next meeting, correct? We're gonna bring that up and
I'm just
expound on that.
transparent.
Aye.